The new discoveries here at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre happened during a recent restoration around the tomb of Jesus. That's when excavators dug below the original level of the 4th century church.
Beneath the most sacred site in Christianity, something hidden has finally been opened. For centuries, the tomb believed to be the burial place of Jesus Christ has been studied, sealed, protected, and deliberately left untouched in one specific area. Pilgrims walked above it. Scholars debated it. Engineers warned against disturbing it. But now, using ground-penetrating scans and micro-robotic tools, scientists have accessed a previously unknown chamber buried deep beneath the tomb, a space no human was meant to enter. What they found inside was not expected, not by archaeologists, not by theologians, and certainly not by the authorities who hesitated for decades to approve this excavation. The chamber doesn't match any known burial design. The materials shouldn't exist there, and the evidence uncovered is already forcing experts to reconsider long-held assumptions about what really happened at this site nearly 2,000 years ago. Before we go any further, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because discoveries like this are changing what we thought we knew about history. The sacred burial site. For almost 2,000 years, one story has captivated hearts and minds across the globe: the account of Jesus Christ's death, burial, and what followers believe was his resurrection. At the center of this narrative lies a location in Jerusalem's ancient old city, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Pilgrims have journeyed to this revered site for generations, seeking connection to events that shaped world history. The church itself stands as a testament to centuries of devotion. Built over what countless Christians regard as the authentic location where Jesus was both crucified and laid to rest, this structure contains walls and stonework reaching back through the ages. Multiple Christian denominations share stewardship of this sacred space. Greek Orthodox, Roman Catholic, and Armenian Orthodox communities each maintain portions of the church, while Coptic, Ethiopian, and Syriac Christians also honor its sanctity. Together, they've preserved this remarkable place for visitors from every corner of the earth. The mysterious edicule. Within the church's vast interior sits a peculiar structure known as the edicule, essentially a little house, in Latin. This compact stone building encloses what tradition holds as Jesus's actual burial chamber. Imagine a shrine within a shrine, protecting what believers consider the holiest ground in Christendom. Inside this structure lies something that had remained hidden from human eyes for generations: a burial shelf carved from solid rock. For hundreds of years, thick marble slabs concealed this ancient surface. These protective coverings were installed at least as far back as the 1550s, possibly even earlier. Through all those centuries, the original stone beneath lay unseen, unknown, yet deeply revered. Ancient origins. The church's history reaches back to the Roman era. In 326 AD, Emperor Constantine dispatched his mother, Helena, on a momentous mission to Jerusalem. According to historical accounts, Helena identified a location that early Christians had long remembered as Jesus' burial place. The site had fallen into neglect and ruin, but Helena supervised its transformation, constructing a magnificent church to commemorate the sacred ground. That original structure endured countless trials. Devastating fires, violent earthquakes, and destructive wars forced repeated reconstruction. Over time, scholars questioned whether the original tomb had survived these catastrophes or been lost entirely beneath successive building projects. To find answers, researchers needed to examine the burial site itself. but the sacred nature of the location meant it had remained sealed and untouched by modern archaeological methods. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre isn't simply built on empty land. Scientists discovered that beneath the current structure lie remnants of much earlier human activity. Evidence emerged of ancient quarrying operations, followed by use as burial grounds. Remarkably, researchers also found preserved soil containing traces of olive trees, grapevines, and other vegetation, details that align perfectly with gospel descriptions of a garden near the tomb. These findings reveal the site's rich, layered past stretching back millennia. Why this place matters. For Christian believers worldwide, the events surrounding Jesus' death and resurrection form the cornerstone of their faith. The empty tomb represents hope, renewal, and the promise of life beyond death. For centuries, devoted pilgrims traveled enormous distances to visit this location, not merely to observe, but to physically touch these ancient stones and feel linked to the biblical narrative. Even scholars without religious motivations find the Church of the Holy Sepulchre fascinating. It offers a window into ancient construction techniques, cultural evolution, and how different civilizations transformed a single location over time. Recent scientific testing of mortar samples from the tomb revealed materials dating to the Roman period, specifically the 4th century. This physical evidence helps bridge the gap between written historical records and tangible archaeological proof. So what exactly did researchers discover that has experts reconsidering centuries of assumptions about what lies beneath these sacred stones? Breaking the seal. For the first time in living memory, scientists gained access to the inner chamber of what millions believe is Jesus' Jerusalem burial site. This unprecedented opportunity came during a meticulous preservation project focused on the edicule within the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. What the team found inside astonished both researchers and historians alike. The marble covering had remained undisturbed for an extraordinary length of time. Experts estimate the uppermost marble layer was installed around 1555, if not earlier still. This protective barrier had shielded the ancient stone beneath from countless visitors over the centuries. When the restoration team carefully slid back the heavy slab, anticipation filled the air. Nobody knew exactly what awaited them. Initial removal of the marble revealed something unexpected: loose debris and accumulated soil filling the space underneath. Material had gradually built up over the ages, settling into every available gap. The team methodically cleared this debris, their careful work revealing just how extensively the site had been layered and covered through different historical periods. Once the loose fill was removed, another surprise emerged: a second marble slab beneath the first. This grayish marble piece differed distinctly from the upper covering. Carved into its surface was a small cross, leading researchers to date it tentatively to the 12th century, possibly from the Crusader period. The slab showed a crack running down its center and bore signs of extensive use over the centuries. The ancient burial shelf revealed beneath that second layer of marble. Scientists finally glimpsed what they'd been searching for: what appears to be the original burial surface. This is the limestone shelf that Christian tradition has associated with Jesus' body following the crucifixion. The stone is limestone, a rock type commonly used for tombs throughout Jerusalem during the 1st century. The limestone formation represents a burial niche, a carved shelf within a cave where a deceased person would be laid. These niches were standard features in Jewish tombs of that era, cut into the rocky hillsides surrounding Jerusalem. Wealthy families commissioned such tombs with multiple shelves for their members. For the first time in modern history, researchers could directly examine this limestone surface. For centuries, the actual bedrock had been concealed beneath layers of marble and protective materials. The survival of this ancient stone, in relatively good condition, ranked among the project's most significant surprises. Close inspection showed the limestone hadn't been significantly carved or modified in recent centuries. It appeared genuinely ancient, matching expectations based on early Christian historical accounts. This gave scientists their first opportunity in hundreds of years to study the rock surface directly. The discovery of the marble slab with the engraved cross beneath the outer covering proved equally important. This piece likely represented an earlier decorative or protective layer placed over the tomb. The carved cross indicated that previous generations had honored this site with religious symbols marking its significance. Researchers believe this slab may originate from the Crusader era or possibly even earlier. Between the grey slab and the limestone shelf, the team also uncovered traces of mortar and sand mixed with small debris fragments. This revealed that ancient workers had used plaster-like compounds to fill gaps and seal the tomb's interior surface, a common practice in historical construction and preservation efforts. Analysis of these mortar samples will help scientists date and understand the various construction and repair phases the tomb underwent. Racing against the clock, the research team faced severe time constraints. Just 60 hours to enter the innermost chamber and complete their observations. This limitation existed because the tomb remains an active sacred site visited by thousands of pilgrims, and the religious communities overseeing it permitted only restricted access for study. During this compressed time frame, researchers worked around the clock to remove debris, examine slabs, and capture photographs and samples. The team employed cutting-edge tools and instruments to measure and document conditions inside the tomb chamber. Specialized lighting, high-resolution cameras, and monitoring equipment captured details invisible to the naked eye alone. Every slab's exact position, the limestone surface, and other features were meticulously documented before the tomb was resealed. What researchers observed confirmed that portions of the rock cave identified back in the 4th century AD still exist today. Earlier studies and construction work had suggested this ancient surface might have been destroyed or heavily modified over time, but the recent opening proved that substantial portions of the original cave surface had survived earthquakes, fires, and numerous rebuilding projects spanning many centuries. The Hidden Garden. When archaeologists began their work beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, they quickly realized the story extended far beyond the burial chamber itself. The investigation didn't merely reveal what lay inside the small burial niche. It pointed to deep historical layers buried under the church floor. The building occupies land with an extensive past, and researchers began finding clues showing the area had served vastly different purposes long before any church existed. Before uncovering the burial shelf, workers carefully excavated beneath the church's stone floor. They discovered that below the current basilica floor lay several ancient soil layers that had remained undisturbed for thousands of years. These deeper strata contained countless microscopic plant fragments and pollen, each telling part of a story about how people used the land long before Christianity emerged. One of the most remarkable discoveries was evidence that the land beneath the church once served as more than bare rocky ground. The research team, led by Professor Francesca Stazzola from Rome's Sapienza University, found traces indicating olive trees and grapevines grew in this area roughly 2,000 years ago. This suggested the location once functioned as agricultural land, with fruit trees and vines planted, tended, and harvested by ancient inhabitants. Biblical parallels. These findings generated excitement, not only because they demonstrated agricultural use, but because they matched an ancient description preserved in biblical texts. The Gospel of John, a New Testament book, describes a garden near Jesus' crucifixion and burial site. The passage in John specifically mentions that the burial place was situated within a garden. What archaeologists uncovered beneath the church appeared to corroborate that description: a garden containing olive trees and grapevines, precisely as the ancient text indicated. The garden evidence consisted of more than random plant fragments. Scientists discovered low stone walls constructed by ancient people, with soil between and around these walls showing signs of human cultivation. These stone structures likely served ancient farming practices, holding soil in place, protecting crops, and dividing planting areas. The team examined these walls and the surrounding soil, confirming this had once been actively cultivated land. Beyond plant remains, deeper excavation revealed cultural material layers predating Jesus' era. These strata included pottery fragments, pieces of oil lamps, and portions of other stone and clay objects belonging to earlier periods when people used the land for daily activities or burial customs. Such discoveries help archaeologists understand the sequential uses of the site, from long before Christianity through to the present day. Landscape transformation. The fact that the church was constructed atop such historically rich, layered ground tells a profound story about Jerusalem itself. It demonstrates that the location now regarded by many Christians as Jesus' crucifixion and burial site was once a living, working landscape cultivated by farmers and home to thriving gardens. Later, tombs were carved into the rocks of an old quarry. Then, as Christianity spread and became dominant, the area became sacred, culminating in the construction of a church to commemorate the New Testament events. Radiocarbon dating, a scientific technique for estimating material age, hasn't yet been completed on many plant samples from beneath the church. Nevertheless, the positioning of soil layers combined with the style of stone walls and plant species types found helped archaeologists determine this site served as cultivated land before the 1st century, during the approximate period when Jesus lived. Because this excavation occurred as part of a major church renovation project, it required extensive planning and cooperation among multiple religious authorities. The three main communities sharing responsibility for the church, the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate, the custody of the Holy Land, Roman Catholic, and the Armenian Patriarchate, collaborated and agreed to permit scientific excavations beneath the ancient floors for the first time in modern memory. This rare cooperation created unprecedented opportunities for archaeologists to study the layers below. Evidence of earlier settlement. These broader excavations beneath the church also illuminated how the site evolved from natural landscape to human-made features. For instance, pottery and artifacts from the Iron Age, a period long predating Christianity, appeared among the deep layers. These items suggest the area saw human activity even before its agricultural use, perhaps as part of settlement activity or regional trade networks before becoming farmland. The olive tree evidence particularly intrigued scientists. Olive trees held tremendous importance in ancient Mediterranean cultures, used for food, oil production, and numerous other purposes. Finding olive tree evidence indicates people not only utilized the land as a garden, but likely depended on it for sustenance and commerce. Similarly, grapevines were essential for wine production and daily nutrition, reinforcing that this was a place of vibrant history long before religious structures rose above it. This extensive excavation work has not only supported historical records, but has also provided archaeologists with a clearer understanding of how the landscape around the site transformed over more than 2 millennia. As scientists continue analyzing soil and materials extracted from the dig, the story of how people lived and utilized this land will continue unfolding. Meanwhile, this project holds even greater significance: the discovery of the secret chamber itself, the massive restoration effort. In recent years, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre underwent its most significant restoration in over 2 centuries. This extensive project concentrated especially on the edicule, the small shrine inside the church surrounding the tomb where tradition holds Jesus was buried. The restoration work and the opening of the burial chamber beneath the shrine became a historic moment that captured attention from scholars, religious leaders, and people worldwide. The restoration project began because the edicule had deteriorated to dangerous levels. Over many decades, water damage, humidity, smoke from countless candles, and the passage of millions of pilgrims had severely degraded the structure. Sections of the shrine showed cracks, wear, and discoloration. Experts warned the structure faced serious risk and needed urgent intervention to ensure stability and safety for future generations. In 2015 and 2016, after lengthy discussions and agreements among the 3 major Christian communities responsible for the church, the Greek Orthodox, Roman Catholic, and Armenian Orthodox churches, the restoration work finally commenced. These groups had long shared control of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but disagreements often complicated large projects. This time they united and agreed to fund the repairs because the shrine's condition was deemed hazardous. Expert team and support. The National Technical University of Athens in Greece led the work with a team of specialists. These professionals had previously restored other world-renowned structures, including the Acropolis in Athens. They brought their expertise and skill to the Jerusalem edicule to ensure the ancient structure would be preserved while protecting its historical and religious significance. The project required several $million and was supported by donations from various countries, religious organizations, and private benefactors. Among the contributors was Jordan's King Abdullah II, who made a substantial personal donation to help fund the work. Such cooperation across nations and communities demonstrates just how important this site is to people globally. A critical aspect of the restoration involved carefully dismantling and rebuilding the edicule's exterior and interior. The team removed hundreds of years' worth of accumulated candle soot and bird droppings that had blackened the marble and stone surfaces. They also cleaned and reinforced the ancient marble slabs and limestone walls. This was delicate work because the materials were ancient, fragile, and deeply connected to centuries of faith and tradition. Structural problems. Beneath the edicule, the restoration team discovered the structure rested on a weak, unstable foundation. Soil, rubble from earlier buildings, and deteriorated mortar-filled portions of the base. There were even mysterious tunnels and hollow spaces under the rotunda surrounding the shrine. This revealed that the church area had been rebuilt and modified many times throughout history, and that the current structure needed reinforcement to protect both pilgrims and the shrine itself. To strengthen the edicule, workers employed modern engineering solutions alongside traditional restoration methods. They injected fresh mortar into weakened wall sections, resecured stone columns with titanium rods, and installed new structural supports to prevent collapse. They also improved ventilation systems to reduce the damaging effects of candle smoke and moisture inside the shrine. The historic unveiling. One of the most dramatic moments of this restoration occurred in late October 2016, when restorers and scientists finally opened the tomb chamber itself for the first time in centuries. This moment was historic because no modern team had ever documented the burial shelf this way before. The marble hadn't been moved in at least 2 centuries since the last major restoration of the edicule following an 1810 fire. Before that, it may not have been fully opened since the mid-1500s or earlier. This was truly a rare glimpse into profound history. The team exercised extreme care during these explorations. In one section of the restored inner sanctum, they created a small viewing window in the marble so future visitors can observe the bare rock wall of the burial chamber without disturbing the ancient stones again. The tomb chamber opening attracted international media coverage and specialists from around the world. Many archaeologists, historians, and conservation experts described the event as monumentally significant. Once the restoration and opening were complete, the marble slabs were returned to their places, and the shrine was resealed so today's visitors can see the edicule as a renewed and stable monument. The protective metal cage installed by British authorities in 1947, a testament to the structure's previous instability, was finally removed because the strengthened shrine no longer required it. The rededication ceremony in March 2017, a ceremony marked the official reopening of the restored edicule and tomb. Religious leaders and visitors gathered beneath the church's dome to celebrate the completion of this careful work. During the reopening ceremony, the Patriarch described the restoration as a gift to the Holy Land and to the entire world. This reflected how many people view the Church of the Holy Sepulchre not merely as a religious site for one community, but as a heritage site belonging to the cultural history of all humanity. Simply put, the major restoration and first opening of the tomb in centuries was about ensuring this ancient and sacred site will remain safe and strong for future generations. It was also about using modern science and traditional care to protect a place holding deep meaning for millions of people. Most of all, it was a moment when layers of history, from ancient times to the present, were revealed and honored through careful work and cooperation. What science cannot answer, even after the tomb beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was opened and studied, scientists were left with numerous unanswered questions. The discovery didn't close debates. Instead, it exposed how much about the site remains uncertain. Archaeology can reveal stone, soil, and structure, but it cannot answer everything people want to know about a place tied to deep belief and ancient history. This gap between what science can prove and what history remembers represents one of the discovery's most important results. One major question scientists still face is how much of the original tomb structure survives beyond what was briefly exposed. Only a small section of the burial area was opened. Large portions of the surrounding rock remain hidden behind walls, marble coverings, and later construction. Researchers suspect more original rock surfaces may still exist, but they cannot be reached without removing parts of the shrine. Because the site is sacred, further exposure is extremely limited. Dating difficulties. Another challenge is dating the site with absolute certainty. While scientists can study building materials, mortar, and construction layers, they cannot directly date the burial event itself. There are no human remains, no inscriptions naming individuals, and no objects clearly tied to a specific person. This means archaeology can confirm the structure fits first-century burial practices, but it cannot confirm who was placed there. Scientists also struggle with the problem of disturbance over time. The site has been damaged by fires, earthquakes, invasions, rebuilding, and heavy foot traffic for nearly 2,000 years. Each event changed the structure somehow. Even careful restoration work from earlier centuries altered the original layout. This makes it difficult to separate ancient features from later repairs. Another unresolved issue involves the exact boundaries of the original tomb cave. Early historical accounts describe a rock-cut tomb, but much of the surrounding cave was removed when the first church was built in the 4th century. Builders cut away rock to isolate the tomb and place it inside a shrine. Because of this, scientists cannot see the tomb in its original natural setting, only what remains after heavy modification. Academic controversies. Debate continues among scholars about how early Christians identified the site. Some historians argue the location was remembered through continuous local tradition. Others suggest it was selected centuries later based on religious meaning rather than exact memory. The recent discoveries support the idea that the site was used as a burial area in ancient times, but they don't fully settle this debate. Another unanswered question is whether additional burial chambers once existed nearby. Many first-century tombs in Jerusalem were part of larger burial complexes used by families. Some researchers believe the tomb beneath the church may have once been part of a bigger burial area that no longer exists. If true, this would change how historians understand the site's layout during Jesus' time. Scientists are also limited by what they're allowed to sample. Only very small pieces of material can be taken for testing, and only with approval from religious authorities. This limits chemical testing, radiocarbon analysis, and deeper geological study. As a result, many conclusions must be drawn indirectly rather than proven directly. Looking ahead. The discovery also raised questions about how future research should be handled. Archaeologists must balance curiosity with respect. Every decision to open, scan, or sample part of the site must consider religious sensitivity, safety, and preservation. This makes the Church of the Holy Sepulchre one of the most challenging archaeological sites in the world to study. Some scientists believe new technology in the future may help answer questions that cannot be solved today. Advances in non-invasive imaging, microscopic analysis, and digital modeling may allow researchers to study hidden areas without physical contact. The data collected during the recent opening is now stored digitally and can be re-examined as technology improves. Despite all the limitations, experts agree on one thing. The discovery beneath the tomb showed that the site still holds information that hasn't been fully understood. It reminded scholars that even the most studied places on Earth can still surprise them. The tomb wasn't empty of meaning just because it was physically empty. The greatest result of opening the chamber wasn't a final answer, but a clearer picture of what archaeology can and cannot do. Science can reveal structure, age, and environment. It can confirm whether a place fits its historical description, but it cannot prove belief, identity, or miracle. That tension is why scientists describe the moment as powerful. They weren't shocked because they found proof. They were awestruck because they stood at the edge of knowledge, where evidence ends and history, memory, and faith begin. What do you think about this remarkable discovery? Do you believe this is truly the tomb where Jesus was buried? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this story fascinating, please like and subscribe to our channel. Before you leave, check out the other intriguing videos on your screen.